So, how do you get to be happy? This is Aristotle's leading question. His great big book called the Nicomachean Ethics, which sounds very pompous, but actually Nicomachus was his son, and it's just dedicated to his son. So he believed that there is a way to get to be happy. But first we have to define what we mean by happiness. And he did not mean happiness in a happy meal or happy hour or even a happy birthday. He meant a lifelong state of contentment and fulfillment, and a sense that you have lived a good life and that you're progressing and that you're happy with yourself and in yourself. Now, he thought the way to get to that state was by trying to be morally the best possible version of yourself, trying to be a good person in all your interactions and trying to work constantly on self-improvement. Now, I've been trying to do that since I first discovered Aristotle at 21. I'm now nearly 67, and I honestly think I am as happy as I possibly could have been given the pack of cards I was dealt with as a child. I do think it works. So how do you go about doing this? Well, first you've got to do some very rigorous self-examination, because if you're going to try and improve yourself, you've got to go through all your different qualities and characteristics and emotions and behaviours and see where you need to work. Like, are you prone to lying? Are you prone to theft? Are you prone to anger? Are you prone to being immoderate with drink or drugs, or any of those qualities? And he actually developed he actually wrote a table, which you're going to do, which helps you to identify where you need to work on yourself in order to get to be a better person, which will make you a happier person. And it's really important to remember that it's really helped me. It's really important to remember that this attitude to life, which means trying to be a better person and think about all your interactions, will make you happier in an external way. If you are nice to people, they will be much nicer back to you. Very simple. You see this particularly in the case of children. People who aren't nice to their children aren't going to have children being nice back to them when they get older. But it also gives you an internal battery. That means you can lie fairly at peace with yourself in bed at night, knowing that you didn't knowingly do anything wrong or hurt anybody. And it's never too late to start that. It is absolutely never too late, to know that you have really tried, your intentions were good. And when you get to your deathbed, being able to say to yourself, there aren't too many things I really regret having done or left undone. Sometimes being a good person is about taking positive action when no one else is, having to whistleblow or tell the social services you can hear the child next door screaming all the time, that kind of thing. So this questionnaire, which you're all going to do, I can tell you now that it's really helped me, because I identified as my two big vices, vindictiveness, appetite for revenge, which tended to consume me as a younger woman. I spent all my time thinking about how to get back at people who'd hurt me, and it was a waste of time very often. The best form of revenge is to live a good life and be happy when people have not had good feelings towards you. And there are some others as well that I'm pretty excessive on. But the revolutionary thing about Aristotle's questionnaire is that he doesn't see virtue and vice, goodness and badness as direct opposites at all. So it's not that all anger is bad. That's what the Stoics thought, right? That all anger is bad. He said, absolutely not. It's on a sliding scale. So too much anger at the wrong time with the wrong people is excess. So we don't want that. There's a sliding scale right at the other end of people who are incapable of getting angry. Now, he said that is not going to make you a good moral person. What happens if somebody is bullying your child at school and you don't feel rage? If you don't feel the rage, you won't get into the school to talk to the headmaster and say, what on earth is going on? And why aren't you protecting my child? Right? So you've got to be able to feel anger. It's a matter of getting it at the right time, in the right amount. So what he called Tom Messon, that means the midpoint. So each quality that you've got has got deficiency, not enough of it, which is bad and won't make you happy, and an excess, which is bad and won't make you happy, and an ideal midpoint. And he went through all the emotions that seemed obvious to him and qualities. We've added a few to the questionnaire because they've been suggested by our students. So things like attitude to work, workaholism, or gentleness, or I think, what was the other one? Compassion, yeah. It is possible to be so overwhelmed by pity and compassion that you just cry all the time and you can't sort of act to improve people's situations. You've got to be able to listen sympathetically without necessarily getting dragged under with it. But of course, on the other end of the spectrum, which is Aristotle, I think, would say worse, is not to be able to feel compassion at all, just being a really hard, horrible person who cannot empathise with anyone else at all. So they're really interesting. Ones that have really helped me, and I think gender comes into this, is modesty. Okay, he actually says there's no point in being deficient in self-belief, right? I was taught as a girl and in a very Christian household that I must never ever boast about myself. I must never ever even just say I'm good at that. Aristotle points out that doesn't make for a healthy community. Imagine you're all on a desert island, end up on a desert island, and you get together for the first time and you don't say, I'm actually a really good cook, or I'm a really good mechanic, or I can teach all the children, I'm a trained and experienced teacher. It's no use at all. You've got to be able to state objectively what you're good at and what you're not boasting, not exaggerating, not dropping it into conversations when it's not relevant, but knowing exactly what you are and are good at. And to his dying day, my father objected to this in me. As a girl, I was supposed actually to minimise it and say, oh, I'm no good, oh, no, don't
just
ask
very lucky.
me. Whatever. So anyway, go off and do the questionnaire. Once you've identified, you've got to be really honest, and you might get some helpful feedback from your group that you're talking with about, if you say I never get angry and they all scoff, that will be telling you something. But then you can start really trying to improve it. And then it becomes what he calls a hexis, which is just a habit. And there the analogy of driving comes in. So if you, every time you feel like flying off the handle, remember ways of controlling yourself, the deep breaths, the time out, the saying, can I take 5 minutes? Eventually you will do that subconsciously. And I can tell you from experience that that is the case. I have learned with my revenge tick. Now I automatically don't take opportunities to stab people in the back without them knowing. I've managed to do that subconsciously, not on the really big ones, but on the little slides. So good luck with it, and we'll talk more soon.